Saturday, or should I say Saturn Day, is said to have come from the Roman calendar. But are there other cultures and or religions who observe Saturn Day? The answer to that question is yes. And you may or may not be shocked. But before we discuss that, let's talk about Saturn. So here's some fun facts about Saturn. Saturn's huge. It is the second largest planet in our solar system. Jupiter is the only planet that is bigger. You cannot stand on Saturn. It's not like Earth. Saturn is made mostly of gases. It has a lot of helium. This is the same kind of gas that you put in balloons. Its beautiful rings are not solid. They are made up of bits of ice, dust, and rock. Some of these bits are as small as grains of sand. Some are much larger than tall buildings. Some are up to 1 kilometer, more than half a mile across. The rings are huge but thin. The main rings could almost go from Earth to the moon, yet they are less than 1 kilometer thick. Other planets have rings. Saturn's rings are the only ones that can be seen from Earth. All you need is a small telescope. Saturn could float in water because it's mostly made of gas. Earth, is made of rocks and stuff. It is very windy on Saturn. Winds around the equator can be 1,800 kilometers per hour. That's 1,118 miles per hour. On Earth, the fastest winds only get to about 400 kilometers per hour. That's only about 250 miles per hour. Saturn goes around the sun very slowly. A year on Saturn is more than 29 Earth years. Saturn spins on its axis very fast. A day on Saturn is 10 hours and 14 minutes. The ring planet is so far away from the sun that it receives much less sunlight than we do here on Earth. Yes, the sun looks smaller from there. The day Saturday was named after Saturn. Now, we've discussed this before. Saturn is the Roman god. Now, the Greek version is Kronos. Kronos is referred to as the eater of children, amongst many other things, which we went over in a previous video. Now, Kronos was killed by Zeus. Zeus, guess what planet? Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the only planet bigger than Saturn. So I guess it's safe to say that the Titans are planets, and whatever other civilizations referred to them as. So basically, they consider their gods the planets. It was what they saw up in the sky. So if we look at Saturn from the North Pole of Saturn, you'll see a hexagon. Did you know that a hexagon is contained in a cube? So let's ask ourselves, why do cubes look like hexagons? Well, when looking it up, the appearance of the hexagon as the middle slice of a cube tells us something about the symmetry of the cube. The cube has 4 long diagonals that pass through its center, and there is a halfway hexagon perpendicular to each of them. The midpoint of each edge will be a corner of 2 of these hexagons. So you're probably wondering, why am I telling you about hexagons and cubes? Well, there's a reason. So Saturn has a hexagon at the North Pole of the planet. And cubes have a hexagon within them. In fact, if I read it correctly, there's like 8 hexagons. So it's interesting because 2 religions that I know of right off the top of my head use cubes in their religion would be Judaism and Islam. The religious obligations of all Muslims are summed up in the 5 pillars of Islam, which include belief in God and His Prophet, and obligations of prayer, charity, pilgrimage, and fasting. The fundamental concept of Islam is Sharia, its law, which embraces the total way of life commanded by God. The Kaaba, meaning cube in Arabic, is considered by Muslims to be the house of God. It rests within the Grand Mosque of Mecca and is the most sacred site in Islam. It is considered by Muslims to be the house of God and is the direction of prayer for Muslims around the world when performing Salah. Now, Judaism, which is the Jewish religion, it's a monotheistic religion, and it's dating back nearly 4,000 years. Followers of Judaism believe in one God who revealed himself through ancient prophets. The history of Judaism is essential to understanding the Jewish faith, which has a rich heritage of law, culture, and tradition. Now, there are three branches of Judaism. It is Reform, Orthodox, and Conservative. So forgive me because I may not pronounce these words correctly, but Teflon, which looks like a little black box on kind of like the forehead, or phylacteries are a set of small black leather boxes with leather straps containing scrolls of parchment inscribed with verses from the Torah. They are worn by adult Jews during weekday morning prayers. In Orthodox and traditional communities, they are worn solely by men, while some Reform and Conservative communities allow them to be worn by both men and women. By traditional Jewish law, women are exempt from most time-dependent positive commandments. Although Teflon is technically the plural form, the singular being tefla, it is often used as singular as well. The arm tefla, or shalyad, literally of the hand, is placed on the upper non-dominant arm, and the strap wrapped around the forelimb, hand, and middle finger, while the head tefla, or shell rash, literally of the head, is placed between the eyes at the boundary of the forehead and hair. That sounds like right around where your pineal gland is. They are intended to fulfill the Torah's instructions to maintain a continuous sign and remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt, as they were originally worn all day from sunrise to sunset. The biblical verses often cited as referring to Teflon are obscure. You have Deuteronomy 11:18, for instance, does not designate explicitly what specifically to bind upon your arm, and the definition of, and I know I'm going to butcher this, totafat, between your eyes, is not obvious. These details are delineated in the oral Torah, at least as early as the 1st century CE. Many Jews understood the verses literally and wore physical teflon, as shown by archaeological finds at Qumran and a reference in the New Testament. However, Karaite Judaism understands the verses to be metaphorical. So here's an article that I came across, and it's Saturn, Why Are We Worshipping the Cult of El? Very interesting. So it asks these questions, so I'm going to give them to you. Did you ever wonder, is it possible that the reality we experience has been hijacked by creator gods who keep us living in subservience, control, and conformity? Why do we look forward to the weekend when we are weakened? Yeah, check etymology of words, it's crazy. Why does the word Saturday mean Saturn Day? And why do we exchange rings when we get married? Why do women wear, and even men, earrings? Why is there so much Saturn symbolism in religion and in the corporate world? Well, Saturn is named after the Roman god Saturnus, and it's not a coincidence that Saturn is called the Lord of the Rings. If Lord equals God, then is it possible that during a wedding ceremony we are giving our energy to Saturn through the exchange of rings? Is it a coincidence that most people get married on a Saturday, Saturn's Day? It's also more costly to marry on Saturday, so we also give away the energy and money to the Saturn cult. So, you know how we've discussed Elohim in a previous video, where it's actually plural, meaning gods, not God, and how El is in the last name of all the angels, even the actual word angel. But it's also in elder, elite. We see it in the word Bethel, or the name Bethel. And we even see it with the name Emmanuel. Now, here is why I bring up El to you guys again. So, Semitic civilizations referred to the god Saturn as El, who is the supreme deity and represented by a black cube. Hence the black cube on the forehead. Hence the cube at Mecca. That is why today, when you get married before God, and the symbol of that God is the ring that is put on each other's fingers, the ring of Saturn. In the marriage phrases, one also begins to see what that has to do with Saturn. And that came from Jordan Maxwell, Matrix of Power, Secrets of World Control. So, a question here I like, it says, in astrotheology, Saturn is Satan, the cult of El. So who are we really giving our energy to? Think about it. So when you look at Hollywood and the music industry and even, the financial world, I mean, there is a black cube of Saturn in Santa Ana, Manhattan, Australia, Denmark. And then you have the Borg from Star Trek. You have a cube in Hellraiser. And there's many music videos that show similar stuff. What's interesting is the Greeks and the Romans also worship Saturn as a cruel deity. Here's a brief summary of the mythology of Saturn in the Western world. With the deposing of his father, Saturn became the ruler of the universe for untold ages, and he reigned with his sister, Ops, who also became his wife. Ew. It was prophesied that one day Saturn would lose power when one of his children would depose him. To prevent this from happening, each time Ops delivered a child, Saturn would immediately swallow it. There you go, the eater of children. And when her sixth child, Jupiter, Zeus, was born, Ops had him spirited away to the island of Crete. She then wrapped a stone in his swaddling clothes. Her deception was complete when Saturn swallowed it, thinking it was the child. When Jupiter was grown, he secured the job of the cupbearer to his father, and with the help of Gaia, his grandmother, Jupiter fed his father a potion that caused him to vomit up Jupiter's 5 siblings, Vesta or Hestia, Ceres, Demeter, Juno, Hera, Pluto, Hades, and Neptune, Poseidon. Now, Wikipedia, Saturn mythology, Saturn always had a negative, if not evil, significance. In ancient times, it has been called the greater malefic, which was opposed to Jupiter, the greater benefic. Saturn is esoterically associated with the man's limitations, restrictions, death, and decay. His Greek name was Kronos, the ruler of time, time being the main factor, inevitably leading to the death of the mortals. Traditional representations of the Grim Reaper originate from the attributes of the god Saturn, who held the sickle with which he slain his father. So at one time, Saturn was regarded by all mankind as a supreme god and ruler of all the kings. Occult researchers affirm that Saturn ruled the kingdom of Atlantis and became the divine ancestor of earthly patriarchs and kings. Since ancient times in occult symbolism, Saturn has been known to represent negativity such as that found in limitations in space and time, conflict, and death. So did you guys know that Saturn's cube is derived from the planet's north pole called the six-pointed star? Boy, that looks familiar. The Saturn cube is derived from the planet's north pole called called the six-pointed star. The cube is a three-dimensional representation of the two-dimensional hexagonal North Pole six-pointed star. So there you go. So I like to keep these videos short, not too long and boring. I just want to give you enough information so that you'll say, hey, you know what? I want to prove her wrong. I'm going to go and research this for myself. Or maybe you're just like, hey, she's onto something. I'm going to research this for myself. The point of it is that you think and that you say, you know what? Something doesn't seem right here. I want to look this up for myself. I want to figure this out. I'm still trying to figure it out. Either way, you guys are more than what they told you. You are powerful, amazing beings. And I love you. So, if you have any comments, go ahead and put them down below. And hit that thumbs up for me. It helps my channel. And I'm really trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. So, by all means, share it too. And if you're not subscribed to my channel already, on that note, click subscribe and that little bell so that way you're notified of new videos. All right, my friends, peace out. Shine your light.